Good morning everyone. Welcome to the video tutorial of class 6 science. So students, today we will do the revision of chapter number 7, that is getting to know plants. Today we will do the revision of this chapter. This is the chapter number 7 of your NCERT book. Okay, so let's start.
And observe all the plants around you. So what you will observe a lot of variation. A variety of plants exist around us. Some are tall, some are short, and some are medium in height. Variation takes place in terms of size, shape, and color of leaves also. Right? Some plants produces beautiful flowers, whereas some do not produces flowers at all. There exists variation in terms of size, shape, color, and fragrance of flowers also. So basically what we are saying is there is lot of variation in plants around us. Okay. And in this chapter we will discuss about these different types of plants. Okay, so now let's begin with this chapter, that is getting to know plants. So based on characters of plants are classified as herbs, shrubs, and trees. So first of all we will discuss about herbs, then we will discuss about shrubs, and after that we will discuss about the trees. Right? So what are herbs? Herbs are plants with green and tender stems. Plants with green and soft stems, basically the non-woody stems, they are known as herbs, and we can easily bend its stems. Usually they are short in height and they have few branches. Okay, so you can see in this diagram also, this is the tulsi plant and it is the herb, and this plant have green and soft stem, basically the non-woody stem, and we can easily bend its stem. If we try to bend it, so we can easily do it. So if you try to bend the stem of this plant, so you can easily do that. Okay, and they are short in height also, they have few branches. So this is an example of a herb. Let's look at some more examples also. So there are so many examples of herbs. Pudina or the mint plant, coriander or dhania plant, tulsi plant, grasses, spinach or palak, wheat plant, all of these are the examples of herbs. They are soft, they have the soft stem, they are green in color, they are short in height, they have few branches also. So all these are the examples of herbs. Now let's see some more examples of herbs. Okay, so these are some more examples of herbs. Tomato plant, wheat plant, rice plant, ginger, carrot, tulsi, spinach, coriander or dhania, pudina or mint, all of these are the examples of herbs. We will now study about shrubs. So what are shrubs? Shrubs are taller than herbs but shorter than trees. So shrubs are the plants that are taller than the herbs but they are shorter than trees. The stem branching out near the base close to the ground, and the stem is hard but not very thick. So the shrubs are taller than herbs. Yes, they are taller than herbs but they are shorter than trees, and the branching start near the base or close to the ground. Yes, you can see in this diagram also, the branching starts near the ground or close to the ground, and the stem is hard but not very thick. They have the hard stem, but they do not have very thick stems. Okay, so let's see some examples of shrubs. So the China rose and the China rose and the Duranta are the examples of shrubs. You can see in this picture also, these China rose and Duranta have the size taller than the herb, but they are shorter than the trees. Okay, so they have the woody stem, but they are not very thick. And you can see here also the branching is start near the base or close to the ground. Okay, so now let's see some more examples of shrubs. Yes, so these are the examples of shrubs: jasmine, China rose, lemon, bougainvillea. All these are also the examples of shrub. Okay, alright, so now here in this diagram we can easily differentiate between the herbs, shrubs and trees. Okay, so these small green soft plants are known as herbs. Okay, these are shrubs. They are woody and have thick stem, but they are smaller as compared to the trees, and they are taller as compared to the herbs. So these are shrubs, and these taller ones are the trees. Okay, so these small plants are known as herbs, which are green and have soft stem. These woody plants are known as shrubs. They are taller than the herbs, but they are smaller than the trees, and the tallest one are the trees. Okay, so this is the difference between the herbs, shrubs and trees. Okay, now we will study about trees. So what are trees? Trees are very tall. They have hard and thick brown stem, which is also known as trunk. So these brown stem is also known as trunk. This is the trunk. You can see in this picture also, this is the trunk. The stems have branches in the upper part much above the ground. So in trees, the stems have branches in the upper part, which is much above the ground. You can see here also, this is much above the ground. Okay, whereas in shrubs, they are near the ground. Okay, or they are near the base, right? So in trees, the stems have the branches much above the ground. Okay, so these are the trees. Now these are the examples of trees, right? There are so many examples of trees, like the mango tree, the apple tree, the jamun tree, peepal tree, banyan, coconut, neem, pines. All of these are the examples of trees. Okay, so now we know what is the difference between the herbs, shrubs and trees. Herbs are the soft and small plants which are green, and they are easily bent. If we try to bend the stem of the herbs, we can easily do that. And the shrubs are the taller than the herbs, but they have the woody stem, but they are smaller than the trees, whereas the trees are the tallest one. Okay, so now we can easily recognize the herbs, shrubs and trees. Alright, so in this picture we can easily differentiate between the herbs, shrubs and trees. These smaller ones which are green and they have the soft stem are known as herbs. Okay, these are also herbs, right? And these are the shrubs. They are woody, they are taller than the herbs, but they are shorter than the trees. Okay, and these the tallest one are the trees. These are the trees, right? This is also the shrub. So now we can easily differentiate what are trees, what are herbs, and what are shrubs. Okay, so now here we have differentiate between the herbs, shrubs and trees on the basis of some characters. Okay, so the first character is height, and on the basis of height the herbs are the smallest one. Okay, and the shrubs are taller than herbs, but they are smaller than the trees. They are taller than the herbs, but they are smaller than the trees, and the trees are the tallest one. So according to the height, the herbs are the smallest, the shrubs are taller than herbs, and they are smaller than trees, and the trees are the tallest one. Okay, now the second character is a stem. The stem of the herbs are soft and green. The stem of the shrubs are hard but not very thick. The herbs have the thin stem, and the shrubs have the stem which are not very thick and not very thin, and the trees have the hard and the thick stem, which is also known as the trunk. Okay, and where do branches appear? So in herbs the branches, very few branches appear, or in some herbs no branches appear. Okay, and in shrubs the branches appear near the base, whereas in trees the branches appear high, much above the ground. Okay, so based on the characters, the herbs, shrubs and trees are differentiated, right? Now some plants have weak stem and they cannot stand upright, okay, which are known as the creepers. So the plants which have the weak stem and they cannot stand upright are known as the creepers, right? So what are creepers? Creepers are the plants that spreads or creeps on the ground. Okay, so there are some examples of creepers like watermelon, muskmelon, pumpkin, sweet potato, etc. All are the examples of creepers. Creepers are the plants that spread and that creeps on the ground, right? So let's see some examples of creepers. So this is a watermelon plant. This is a example of a creeper. This plant spread on the ground. They cannot stand upright. They creep or the spread on the ground. This is the example of watermelon plant. Now this is the pumpkin. This is also a creeper which creeps or spread on the ground, right? So the next one are climbers. So what are climbers? Climbers are the plant that take support of the neighboring structures with the help of wall, fence, trees and climbs up. So climbers are the plant that take the support of the wall, fence or trees and they climb up. And the examples of climbers are money plant, pea plant, bitter gourd, bottle gourd. All are the examples of the climbers. So these are the examples of the climbers. You can see in this picture also that this money plant takes the support of this tree and climbs up. So the climbers need support to climb up. So this is a money plant. This is an example of a climber. This is the Karela plant or the bitter gourd which takes the support of this fence and climb up. This is also the example of a climber. Okay, so these bitter gourd and money plant both are the examples of the climbers, right? Now we know that what are herbs, what are shrubs, what are trees, what are climbers and what are creepers, and we can easily differentiate between them. Okay, so now we will move forward with this chapter. The next topic of this chapter is parts of a plant. Okay, so now we will study about the next topic, that is parts of a plant. So we all know that the plant has so many parts like the stem, flowers, leaves, roots, fruits, buds, all are the parts of a plant. But in this chapter we have to study them in detail. Okay. So the part of the plant which is below the ground is known as the root system, whereas the part of the plant which is above the ground is known as the shoot system. Okay, so first of all we will discuss about the shoot system, and after that we will discuss about the root system. Okay, so this is a shoot system. The shoot system has different parts like stem, leaves, flowers, fruits and buds are also the part of the shoot system. Okay, so first of all we will discuss about the stem. Okay, after that we will discuss about leaves, and at last we will discuss about the flower, right? So what is the stem? Stem holds the plant erect or upright. This is the stem. Okay, so the stem bears the leaves, flowers and the fruits. So the stem holds the plant erect, and stem bears so many parts like leaves, flowers and the fruits. The stem carries water and minerals from the soil to different parts of the plant through special tubes called as xylem. So what is the function of stem? Stem performs two main functions. First one is the stem carries the water and minerals from the soil to the different parts of the plant through the special tubes called as xylem. Okay, and the next one is the stem also carries the food prepared in the leaves to different parts of the plant through the special tubes called as phloem. Okay, so now let's discuss about the xylem and the phloem. So we all know that the roots will absorb water and minerals from the soil, and this water and minerals is transported to the other parts of the plant through the xylem or by the xylem. Okay, xylem are the small tubes or the special tubes which transport the water and minerals to the other parts of the plant. All right. So this one is xylem. And what is the main function of xylem? The function of xylem is the transportation of the water and minerals from the soil to the other parts of the plant. So this xylem, these are the special tubes, they transport the water and minerals from the soil to the other parts of the plant. Okay, now the next one is phloem. Phloem transport the food from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. Okay. So we all know that food is prepared in the leaves by the process of photosynthesis, and the food prepared by leaves is transported to the other parts of the plant by these stems. These stems have the phloem, or they have the special tubes which are known as the phloem, and the phloem help in the transportation of food to the other parts of the plant. Okay. So this one is the phloem, and phloem helps in the transportation of food from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. Now I hope you have understood the functions of the xylem and the phloem and the difference between the xylem and the phloem. The xylem transport the water and minerals from the soil to the other parts of the plant, whereas the phloem transport the food from the leaves to the other parts of the plant, right? So now here is an experiment to show that the stem conducts water. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to take a glass, fill it 1/3 with water. What we have to do, we have to take a glass and we have to fill it 1/3 with water. After that we have to add a few drops of ink to the water. Here we have taken the red ink, right? So what we have to do, we have to add a few drops of ink to the water. After that we have to
cut the base of the stem of the herb and we have to put it in the glass, right? We have to leave it for some time and we have to observe it on the next day. So what will we observe? That we observe is the color of the flower has changed. Okay, so if we have to keep it in the glass and we have to keep it undisturbed for one day, the next day if we observe it, we will observe that the color of the flower will change, or the color of the flower has changed. Okay, so why is it so? Why the color of the flower has changed? The color of the flower has changed because the water moves upwards through the narrow tubes inside the stem of the plant. Okay, that is why the color of the flower has changed, right? So this experiment clearly shows that the stem conducts water. Okay. So now we have one more example here. Here we have taken the white rose stem. We have dipped in the white rose stem in the blue ink, and after few days what we observe is the color of the flower changes to the bluish. Here this is the white flower and here the color changes to the blue, or it looks the bluish in color. Okay, why is it so? Because the stem conducts water and this water move upwards through the special tubes called as xylem, and that is why the color changes from the white to the bluish. Okay, so now we know that the stem conducts water. Let's move forward. Now we have discussed about the stem. The next topic of the shoot system, or the next part of the shoot system, is leaves. Okay, now we will discuss about the leaves. So what is a leaf? A leaf is a flattened green colored structure which arises from the nodes of the stem or its branches. Okay, so it is a flattened green color structure which arises from the branches or from the nodes of the stem. And the green color of the leaves is due to the presence of the green pigment. Okay, so this green pigment is the main cause of the green color of the leaves. So the green color is due to the presence of the green pigment, which is known as chlorophyll. Okay, so the leaves are of different shapes and size. They have different thickness, they have different growth patterns also. You can see in this picture also, all these leaves are of different variety. They have the different shapes, they have the different sizes, they have different thickness, and also they have the different growth patterns. Okay, so what is a leaf? Leaf is a flattened green color structure which arises from the nodes of the stem or its branches. And the leaves have the different parts. Okay, so this broad green part of the leaf, this entire part is known as the lamina or the leaf lamina. Okay, so the broad green part of the leaf is known as the leaf lamina, and the part of the leaf by which it is attached to the stem, this is known as the stem, and the part of a leaf by which it is attached to the stem is known as the petiole. So this part is known as the petiole, which attach the leaf to the stem. This is known as the petiole. Okay, so this is lamina, this is petiole, and this is the stem. All right. And in leaves, so many small lines are present which are known as its veins. So these are the small lines present on the leaf. These small lines are known as the veins of the leaves. Okay, and a thick vein in the middle of the leaf, this thick vein which is present in the middle of the leaf is known as the midrib. So this one is known as the midrib. All right, so these small
lines are known as the veins, and the thick vein is present in the middle of the leaf is known as the midrib. So now we know that the leaves have different parts. Okay, this part is known as midrib. This entire green part is known as the leaf lamina. These small lines are known as the veins, and this part which attaches the leaf to the stem is known as a petiole. So these are the different parts of a leaf. Now the leaves have different types of venations. They have mostly the two types of venation. So what is venation? Let's discuss that. So what is a venation or what is a leaf venation? The pattern of veins on the leaf is known as venation. So the pattern which is present on the leaf, the pattern of veins is known as the venation, and the venation is basically of two types. First one is reticulate venation and the next one is parallel venation. Okay, so there are two types of venation, reticulate and parallel venation. So first of all we will discuss about the reticulate venation. So if the design is net-like on the both side of the midrib, the venation is reticulate. We all know that this midline is known as the midrib, and the net-like structure or the net-like design which is present on the both side of the midrib is known as the reticulate venation. This is a net-like design, okay, which is present on the both side of the midrib. You can see this design is look like this. These are the small veins. Okay, so the design is net like, and the examples of the reticulate venation are the rose plant, the peepal plant, the mango tree. All are the examples of the reticulate venation. Now the next type of venation is parallel venation. If the design made by veins is parallel to one another in a leaf is known as the parallel venation. So this is the example of the parallel venation. Here the venation is look like this. Okay, these are parallel to each other. Okay, so this is known as the parallel venation, and the examples are grass, wheat, maize, banana. All are the examples of the parallel venation. So if the design is net-like on the both side of the midrib, the venation is reticulate, and if the design is made by vein is parallel to one another, so that is known as parallel venation. Okay, so you can see here also, this is the example of reticulate venation. Here the net-like design is present on the both side of the midrib. So these are the examples of the reticulate venation. Now let's see the example of the parallel venation. Okay, so these are the examples of the parallel venation. In these designs are these veins are parallel to one another. Okay, so in this case they are vertically parallel to one another, and in this case they are horizontally parallel to one another. So these are the examples of the parallel venation. Now we will discuss the two important functions of leaf. First one is photosynthesis, and the second one is transpiration. So what is photosynthesis? Green plants make food by the process of photosynthesis using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight. Okay, so photosynthesis is the process in which the green leaves make food by the help of carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and with the help of chlorophyll also. Okay, and what is transpiration? Transpiration is the process in which the leaves give out excess water in the form of vapors through the process of transpiration. So what is transpiration? It is the process in which the leaves gives out excess water in the form of vapors. Okay, so now we will discuss the photosynthesis and transpiration in detail. Alright, so plant prepare food by the process of photosynthesis, and photosynthesis occur in the leaves of the plant. Okay. So how leaves prepare food? Leaves absorb carbon dioxide from the air, water and minerals from the soil, and with the help of sunlight and in the presence of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is present in the leaves of the plant. With the help of chlorophyll, the leaves produces carbon dioxide and releases oxygen. Okay, so in this way the process of photosynthesis takes place. First of all, the leaves absorb carbon dioxide from the air and absorb water and minerals from the soil, and with the help of sunlight and in the presence of sunlight and with the help of chlorophyll, these leaves produces carbohydrates and releases oxygen. This process is known as photosynthesis. So in the leaves of the plant, small pores are present which are known as stomata. Okay, and these stomata help in the gaseous exchange. So these stomata help in gaseous exchange, which means that they help in absorbing the carbon dioxide from air and also help in releasing the oxygen. Okay. So basically the stomata help in gaseous exchange. Okay. So now with the help of some experiment, we will try to prove that leaves prepare carbohydrates and also carry out photosynthesis. Okay. We have studied in chapter 2 that to test the presence of carbohydrates or starch, we need to perform a iodine test. So we will perform this iodine test on our leaf. Okay, but before performing this test, we know that leaves are green in color. Okay, and if we perform iodine test on these green leaves, we cannot observe the color change clearly. Okay, so first of all we need to turn this leaf colorless. Okay, because if we put some iodine solution over this leaf, so we cannot observe the color change clearly. Okay, so first of all we need to make it colorless. So first of all we need to take this leaf and we have to put spirit over it. Okay, we have to keep it in a test tube and we have to put spirit over it to make it colorless. So first of all we have to take the leaf, we have to keep it in a test tube and we have to put spirit over it. Okay, and then we have to put this test tube in a beaker which is half filled with water. Okay, and after that we have to heat this beaker till all the green color of the leaf comes out in the spirit in the test tube. Okay, so now your leaf is colorless. Now we can clearly observe the color change. Then take out this leaf and wash it in the water. After that, put it on a plate and put some iodine solution over it. And observe that the color of the leaf changed to blue black or the purplish color. Okay, which indicate that leaves contains starch. Okay, so this experiment proves that leaves contain starch. Okay, but this experiment doesn't prove that leaves carry out photosynthesis. Okay, so we need to perform a test or we need to perform an experiment which clearly proves that leaves carry out photosynthesis. So for this you have to take a plant and you have to keep the plant in dark room for 1 to 2 days so that all the starch present in the leaves gets consumed. After that, cover a part of leaf with black paper like this and keep this plant in sunlight. And then you will perform the same iodine test on this leaf, and you will notice that the part of the leaf which is covered with the black paper remains green by the iodine test, and the rest of the part which is not covered turns blue black in color after the iodine test. So what does this indicate? This indicates that the part of the leaf which is not covered by the paper, they in the presence of sunlight carbohydrates, but the part of the sunlight the part of the leaf which didn't get the sunlight, okay, doesn't carry out the process of photosynthesis. So that's why this part which is covered with blue black paper remains green in color and it doesn't change its color, okay. So it shows that there is no starch present over here, okay. So this proves that leaves carry out photosynthesis only in the presence of sunlight, okay. So we will now study about the most important function or the next important function of leaf, that is transpiration. All right. We know that roots will absorb water and minerals from the soil, and some of the water is absorbed by the plants during the process of photosynthesis, okay. So some water is utilized and the excess water from the leaves will transpire in the form of vapor. So leaves will transpire excess water in the form of vapor, and the process is known as transpiration, right? So now we have to do an experiment to show that the leaves do transpiration, okay. So now we have to do an experiment to show that leaves do transpiration. So what we have to do, we have to take a medium size and well watered plant, and we have to remove all the leaves of one twig of this plant and cover this twig with polythene bag, okay, like this. So here you have removed all the leaves of this twig and you have covered the twig with the polythene bag. Now cover any other twig with leaves with polythene bag also. So we have covered this part also with polythene bag, okay, and this part, this time we don't have to remove the leaves from the twig. This part is without leaves and this part is with leaves. Now leave the plant in sunlight for an hour or two. So after 1 hour or 2 hours, we will notice that the drops of water will appear on the inner side of the bag that covered the leafy twig. So can you see the droplets of water over here with the twig with leaves? Yes, okay. So can you see this part also, the twigs without leaves? There is no droplets of water are present, right? So this clearly indicates that leaves do transpiration, and leaves release excess water in the form of vapor to air. So this experiment clearly shows that leaves do transpiration. Here we remove the leaves of the twig, so there is no water over here, so we didn't notice any transpiration. And in this part we didn't remove the leaves, so we have seen the droplets of water. This means that the leaves carry out the process of transpiration. So this proves that leaves do transpiration, right? So after study about leaves and stem, now we will study about flowers. So what is the flower? Flower is mainly the reproductive part of the plant, and the different parts of the flower are petals, sepals, pistil and stamen. So pistil is the female reproductive part of the flower, and the stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower. Okay, so we will now discuss all these parts in detail. So the colored part of the flower, this colored part, can you see this red part, this pink part, this yellowish orangish part, this magenta part? All these colored part, this colored part of the flower are known as petals. So the colored part of the flower are known as petals. And now what are sepals? So the small leaf-like structures, the uttermost green color part that enclose the bud is known as sepal. So this green part, this is known as a sepal. This green part, this leaf-like structure is known as sepals. This one is sepal, this one is sepal. So these green parts, the outermost green color part that enclose the bud is known as sepals. So now you have understood the difference between the sepals and petals. Okay, now let's move forward. So we will now study about pistil and stamen. I told you that pistil is the female reproductive part of flower and stamen is the male reproductive part of flower, right? So this part of the flower is known as pistil, and these are stamens. This one is a stamen, these are stamens, right? So now we will study about pistil and stamen. So let's discuss about stamen first. So stamen is the male part of a flower. This is a pollen producing part of a flower. So what is a stamen? Stamen is the male reproductive part of flower. So this is a stamen and it has two parts. Okay, this one is a stamen and it has two parts. This one is known as anther and this one is known as filament. Anther produces pollen grains, right? So now we will discuss about pistil. So what is a pistil? Pistil is the female part of flower and it consists of stigma, style and ovary. Okay, so pistil is the female reproductive part of flower and it consists of stigma, style and ovary. So this part of the flower is known as stigma, this is a style and this is ovary. Okay, so see this diagram, this part is known as pistil. Okay, these are anthers and this part is known as stamen. Okay, so this is the structure of a flower. So now you have understood that pistil is the female reproductive part of flower and stamen is the male reproductive part of flower. Okay, so now let's move forward. So now let's discuss about the internal structure of ovary. Okay, so this is the ovary and ovary is the lowermost or swollen part of the pistil. This part is known as ovary, and if you cut out this ovary, so you will see that some bead like structures are present inside the ovary. Okay, so these are the bead like structures which are known as ovules. Okay, and these ovules are present inside the ovary. So what is the ovary? Ovary is the lowermost swollen part of pistil, and what are ovules? Ovules are the small bead like structures inside the ovary. Okay, so now we know what is the difference between the female reproductive organ and what is male reproductive organ. So this is the female reproductive organ of a flower, and this is known as pistil, and it consists of stigma, style, and ovary. Okay, and this is a male reproductive organ. This is known as stamen, and it consists of anther and filament. All right. So now we have understood the different parts of a flower. These parts are known as petals. This one is a petal. These colored parts are known as petals. These are sepals. Okay, and this part is stigma, this is style, and this is ovary, and all these parts together are known as pistil. Okay, and this part is known as anther, this is filament, and both these parts together are known as stamen. Okay, this part is the ovule, this is known as stalk, and this part is known as receptacle. So this is the structure of a flower, or the parts of a flower. Okay, so this is all about the parts of a flower. Now let's move forward. Okay, so now we will try to understand that how fertilization happens in flower. So I told you that anthers are the pollen producing parts, and pollen grains are produced in this anther, and these pollen grains are transferred from the anthers to the stigma of the flower. How? Through honeybees, by air, by wind. So after transferring of pollen grains from anther to stigma, these pollen grains travel through this stigma and reach to this part, ovary. Okay, so this part is known as ovary. These pollen grains are present here, and these pollen grains travel through stigma to the ovary. And in ovary the eggs are present, and these pollen grains fertilize this egg, and that's how the ovules present in the seeds turns into the ovules present in the ovary turns into seeds, and the ovary itself turns into fruits. Okay, the ovules present in the ovary turns into seeds, and the ovary turns into fruits. So after fertilization, this ovary swells and it becomes bigger and bigger in size, and after few days these ovary turns into fruit, and the ovules turns into seeds. All right, let's see this example. This is a mango flower. Okay, so first of all, the pollens from the anther will be transferred to stigma of the flower. Then fertilization will happen in the ovary, where the pollen grains will fertilize the eggs present in the ovary, and after fertilization the ovary swells and it will become bigger and bigger in size and turns into a fruit, and ovules turns into seeds. So this is how the fertilization happens. So after studying about stems, leaves and flowers, now we will study about roots. So the roots help in holding the plants firmly in the soil. Root absorbs water and mineral from the soil, and the stem transport these to other parts of the plant. We already know this, that the root absorb water and mineral from the soil, and it helps in holding the plants firmly in the soil. Okay, so these roots are of two types. First one is taproot and the next one is fibrous roots. So what are taproots? In this type of root system, there is one prominent and long main root and a bunch of smaller lateral side roots that grow from this main root. So this is taproot. Can you see the long main prominent root and the side roots and the lateral roots are coming out of this? So these types of roots are known as taproots. This is also taproot. Here this you can see this prominent or the main prominent part of the root, and these are the lateral roots or the side roots. So now we will study about fibrous root. In this type of root system, all the roots emerge directly from the base of the plant. They do not have a main root. Okay. So can you see this? There is no main root is present and all the roots are emerging from the base of the stem. So this type of root system is known as fibrous root system. These are also the fibrous roots. Now, just by looking at the leaves of the plant, you can tell about the kind of the roots it has. Yes, if the roots will have reticulate venation, this type of venation, it means the root will have the taproot system, this system. And if the roots will have the parallel venation, it means the roots have the fibrous root system. This is the reticulate parallel venation and the leaves have the fibrous root system. Okay. So if the root will show reticulate venation, it means they have the taproot system, and if the leaves will show the parallel venation, so it means they have the fibrous root system. So just by looking at the leaves of the plant, you can tell about the kinds of root it has. Okay. You don't have to dig the soil, and remove the plant and then look at the root, that what kind of root system it has. Okay, so to understand the function of roots, you will perform a simple activity. What you have to do is you have to potted two plants and you have to remove the roots of one plant. Okay, and after that you have to water the plant regularly, and after 7 days you observe the plant and you will find that the plant in pot A, this one, will stand erect and it is difficult to pull it out as roots provide it support, and they are normal in growth and development as roots help in the absorption of water and mineral from the soil. So in pot A it will be difficult to pull it out as the roots provide them support and they show normal growth as the root help in the absorption of water and minerals from the soil. But the plant in the pot B will not stand erect, will fall easier to pull it out, and the plant will die as there are no roots. So this plant will not stand erect, will fall, and eventually the plant will die as there are no roots. So now you have understood the functions of roots also. So now there are some plants also found which have the aerial roots, like the banyan tree. This one is the banyan tree. They have the aerial roots. Have you seen these types of roots anywhere? So in some plants aerial roots are also present. Okay, so now you have understood about the functions of leaves, about the structure of flower, functions of flowers, and about the functions of roots also. okay, and you have also understood about the types of roots. So with this we have reached to the end of this chapter, and I think you all have understood the part 1 and the part 2 of this chapter very well. Okay, so thank you and see you in the next video.